white to red. Then battle commence.
Two Wheels is proudly powered by Broadlink, delivering serious bandwidth for serious business. Welcome to the Brother News Desk. This week, Roger McCleary and Dave Peterson attended the annual South African Day of Champions event held at Zwartkops. Let's see what happened.
The Day of Champions is an annual event and has attracted visitors from around the world. And Zwartkops has become famous for classic bike racing. Roger McCleary is standing by to chat to us.
We have a meeting that we all look forward to. It's an international historic meeting, the Day of Champions at the Zwartkops Raceway. And Mick Grant and his team, Klaus Strugner, brought over a lineup of bikes, MV Augustas, 4-cylinder 750 Yamahas, Hondas, Suzuki's. They're all here, it's unbelievable. And we have a lineup of world champions, we have South African champions, we have TT winners like Mick Grant, Ian Simpson, all the others. It really is fantastic to see them all get together, and it's like the old days. You can see them behind me in the pits, all getting on well, chatting. And when they go out to race on the track, it's red mist all the time. They try as hard as they can. When they take their helmets off, you reckon you can't be this old and go that fast, but they do. So it's wonderful to have them here in South Africa, at Zwartkops, and then of course down at Killarney in Cape Town.
Thanks, Roger. So it's in amongst all the classic car racing, and these cars are really spectacular. Hopefully the bikes are going to be just as spectacular as the cars. And thankfully the marshals have cleaned the track up, because those cars do drop a bit of oil and do run over the inside curbs. So the South African TT, this is the first heat. We go on board here with Alan Duffus, who's riding a TZ 750 Yamaha. It's a 4-cylinder two-stroke, and it is of 1977 vintage. Can you believe that? They're all vintage bikes, but they've got modern tyres on and slightly better suspension than they ever had. Les van Berard, bike number 77, the Charger from Springs, and he's now 60-odd years of age. You wouldn't say so looking at him out on the track. Also on board here with Alan John Fenter, youngster who rode this year's Isle of Man and the Macau Grand Prix, and he's on a Yamaha XS 1100, mixing it up with some of the more modern superbikes. Les holds the lead, but closing him down very quickly is Ian Simpson from the UK, former Isle of Man rider, who's also on a Suzuki. Alan Duffus is screaming the TZ 750 up the hill. Now who's that in his sights? It's Alan John Fenter. So these are both Isle of Man specialists. Ooh, onto the shelf. He really is brave on the brakes. Moves up into 5th position. The bike down in 3rd position at the moment is a West Cooley replica Suzuki being ridden by father of Ian Simpson, Bill Simpson, also out from Scotland, although he did live in Bulawayo when he was a youngster. Now, Ian Simpson on the slightly more modern Suzuki than Les van Berard's has hit the front. And it looks like Simpson Sr. is holding off John Costerman for that 3rd place. Behind them, Alan Duffus and AJ Fenter, Alan John Fenter, having a fabulous dice. TZ versus XS 1100. Tony Jones just behind them, with Mike Muskimming in 8th place at the moment, just ahead of Donnie Cronje and Boy Low. Good dicing throughout the field, and you wouldn't think that these are all classic motorcycles the way they're riding them around the racetrack. And the photographers are having a field day, as is Alan Duffus on Alan John Fenter, going up the inside but then running wide. Alan John ducking back underneath him, and look at the speed of the 750 Yamaha compared to the road bike XS11. Fabulous style from Ian Simpson. He really knows how to go around this Zwartkops track, but he's well experienced, having won the British Superbike Championship before. This is that dice going on for 4th, 5th and 6th, right down the field. Lloyd Dickinson, Kevin Spratley, Nigel Rigg, all the way out from the UK, as well as Richard Burns. And behind them is Kurt Bem. Now look at this dice. This is between Duffus and AJ Fenter. Whoa, and Fenter almost runs into the back of him. Fergal McAdam is getting involved in that dice as well with his Suzuki Katana. Back on board we go with the Yamaha XS 1100 of Alan John Fenter. He's way better on the brakes. Now he's got Costerman and Fergal McAdam are dicing it out with him as well. This is a great dice going on. Fergal McAdam, bike number 91 now, splits up our 2 camera machines. And right behind them is Tony Jones, who's coming along pretty well with a Ducati. It's a classic Ducati. Back on board with Alan Duffus's TZ 750. He's screaming that thing all the way up to 10,000 RPM. Hope he's got new parts in that engine. Mind you, parts are available for that motorcycle. Les van Breda cranks the katana over. He's put so many hours of work into that motorcycle. Bill Simpson coming under a lot of pressure with John Kosterman, 2 Suzukis, different specification of course, and quite a few years difference as well. Come down to that final turn, and Bill Simpson late on the brakes with that glorious West Cooley replica bike number 22. Look at the features on that motorcycle. It did start life as a 750cc Suzuki, and it's been brought out to 1000 cc's. All the trick bits on it, and that's the difference between British classic racing and South African classic racing. They have all that stuff available to them. Alan Walker goes through on the 888 Ducati. He's having a good ride. 78 is Rick Burns from the UK on an XR69 Suzuki replica. That replicates a factory bike. And there is the Ducati 888, ideally suited to the tight and twisty Zwartkops raceway. Coming to the final stages of this race, Alan John Fenter is looking to close down Alan Duffus, but the TZ 750 just has too much power. Ooh, and look at that. Kosterman goes through on 81, and he bumps out of the way Bill Simpson. Bill Simpson's not a spring chicken either. It does give Fergal McAdam the chance to close right in on that third place dice. The win goes to Ian Simpson, Les van Breda in second place, and good lap times from those riders. Big guys still going on between John Kosterman and Bill Simpson for that third place. Kosterman looks like he's got this one with his Suzuki. Bill Simpson right behind. Oh, and Bill Simpson has thrown it into the grass. I think he did the same thing last year. Roger McCleary standing by in pit lane.
Nice start to the tour, Ian.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that race. It's the first time I've rode the 1100 Suzuki there for Team Classic Suzuki, so we changed quite a few things in it to try and get it to work better for me, and we're getting there with it. It seemed a lot better there than it was in practice, so enjoyed that.
Yeah, but listen, coming from the Isle of Man, Scotland and British superbikes, etc., you've got to be an all-round to be able to jump from one bike to another.
Yeah, that's it. I think a good rider can ride any bike really. It's just getting the right setup for how you want it. So.
We had a South African just behind you waiting for you to make a mistake, and he was going to be there, Les van Breda. Anyway, nice to see you here, and with him is his father Bill. And Bill, you were going very well in third spot.
Yeah, I made a silly mistake right at the end there. It's my own fault. You think I should know better? Yeah. I just leaned it over too far and decked the crankcases out.
One thing I can't recognise your accent. You don't sound too Scottish.
No, well, my parents are Scottish and they emigrated to Zimbabwe after the war. Took me with them, and then they went back when they felt they should go back.
Yeah, Rhodesia and Zimbabwe's made good riders. I think it's the Limpopo Water.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I remember all the racing circuits over there, Donnybrook and Belvedere, when I was a boy.
Well, he won his last South African Championship in 1976. That's about 40 years ago, Les. And you're still right up there.
Yeah, I'm still enjoying it, Roger, but I can't ride like I would like to. I think the age is catching up, but the eyesight's not so good anymore.
Well, you go pretty well. And that Katana really does go well. It's a real macho motorbike, that one.
Yeah, I love riding it. It's got lots and lots of horsepower, but it's a beast under the brakes. It's so heavy. It's got enough stopping power, but it just lofts the rear wheel into the air when the motor moves forward.
Anyway, it was Suzuki 1 and 2 in that race. I mean, one of those Isle of Man Suzukis in yourself.
Yeah, I came to a gunfight with a sword, and I think he's about the same age as my son.
Alan Duffus, long history in the TT as well, but the bike you've chosen, Alan, is a real handful. I mean, it's a 750 TZ Yamaha. That's a brute of a motorbike.
Yeah, they always had a reputation for being a bit brutal, but they're certainly the changed motorcycling when they came out, moving from Manx Nortons and 750, or the AJ 7Rs, and all of a sudden we got this kind of thing and the 350s, and motorcycling changed for that whole era, you know. So always loved it, and I've kept it. This was the bike I won the championships on in Scotland in the 70s, and I did sell it when I finished, but then 8 years later I got the chance to buy it back, and I did. So, yeah.
That 750 is really quick, but it was more about the racing. You know, I could pass him in the turns and he'd pull me in a straight line, so it made it really fun. And for a man of his age, I'll tell you what, he done some good passes there.
No, he hasn't ridden for like 30 years, by the way.
Well, then maybe he couldn't see me.
Listen, and the bike you're riding?
I'm riding I think it's called an XS11 with a shaft drive, and I'm not too clued up about how they work and that, but it's good to ride. It's heavy. It's not what I'm used to. We grew up riding the newer bikes of today, so it makes us youngsters understand how the guys used to have to ride in the olden days.
And your plans for the year going to have another shot at the TT and possibly Macau?
Yeah, for this year, I went last year and done the TT for the first time, and I just did the 1,000 class. This year I'll be riding all 5 races. I'll be riding the lightweights, the super sport class, and then obviously the big class. And I'll be doing the Macau Grand Prix again, and I'll probably be doing a few of the local rounds here as well.
Great stuff for Alan John Venter, and a good turnout of bikes and cars and crowd here today in this Day of Champions, the South African TT. But it all started way back in 1972, and this is basically a reenactment of that event. We go into race number 2, the final race for the day, and does Les van Breda get it again? No, he does not. Looks like Fergal McCann might have got the whole shot, with Les right behind him. Ian Simpson, once again starting off very gently with his big Suzuki. Les van Breda, turn number 2, hits the front as he goes through in 3rd gear, then he'll squirt it all the way up to the sweep, over 200 km per hour in 4th gear. 21 motorcycles in the South African TT this time around, and Alan Duffus has got a better start this time, but it does look like Alan John Venter has even got further ahead. So the dice, are we going to see a replica of the first race? Les van Breda, 200 km per hour, the 60-year-old man with the 1981 Suzuki Katana. Here we are on board with Alan John Venter. Yes, he's got a better start because that's Bill Simpson with the West Cooley replica just ahead of him as they come up to the shelf very quickly there on the brakes. Les is holding off Ian Simpson. Is he just biding his time, warming up the tyres? I seem to think so. Fergal McCann still in 3rd place. Bill Simpson just behind him. Alan John Venter, Alan Duffus, Tony Jones, Donnie Cronje, Etienne Lowe, and Mike McSkimming just behind them. And then Robbie Burns, bike number 78, all the way out from Scotland as well, with his XR 69, bike number 78. If I could have the choice of any bike in this field, it would probably be that one. Now, Ian Simpson, he's lining up Les van Breda as they come down into the hairpin. Turn number 2. Can he sneak up the inside? Yes, he does. Just a bit better on the brakes. You notice there, Les has got a single disc on the front of his Katana. Ian's got double discs. I'm not sure if that's affecting things very much. It does look like Les is struggling on the brakes just a bit, but I think that's more the balance of the Katana rather than the braking system itself. Right, Alan Duffus, he's got Alan John Venter in his sights. Can he close him down? The XS 1100 is flying at this point. Oh no, it's not Alan John Venter, that's another rider. I think that's Tony Jones who's out there just ahead of Alan Duffus, or it could even be Donnie Cronje with his Suzuki GSXR 750. Les van Breda tells me that Katana is around about 1400 cc's and makes 140 horsepower on the dyno. Pretty scary, really. Bike number 47 goes through your picture there, and I can't tell you who it is because he's not in the program. But getting with the program is Alan Duffus with that TZ. He's carving his way through the field. He's making a couple of mistakes on the brakes though, but I think he's just a bit anxious at that point. There's Alan John Venter. We've got an onboard camera on that XS11. Notice he's having to hang right off the thing as he looks over his shoulder to see John Kosterman behind him with Alan Duffus in tow, hanging right off that motorcycle. Remember when Mike Crawford won the South African Championship on an XS11? That was way back in 1979. Alan John Venter's XS 1.1, by the way, is prepared by Alan at Hillbilly Racing. This bike's been around, well, since 1980, really. You can see the way they're speeding up through there. Now, the Simpsons, I'm talking about Ian and Bill, are really flying out on the track. But the difference in age and difference in bikes does seem to tell. It's about 4 seconds a lap different. Ian Simpson really has got that Suzuki well dialed in. Ooh, coming around the outside, Alan John Venter. He is trying to get past John Kosterman, but without success. Bill Simpson, though, is holding him off. Let's hope he doesn't repeat that first race where he dumped it down the road with that beautiful West Cooley Suzuki. 133, that's James McClellan, riding on a Boxer Cup BMW. Now, he used to run a riding school here at the Zwartkops Raceway, so he's done a million laps around this track, knows his way there. There's van Breda, bike number 77, all out from springs. You can see the left-hand side of the engine cut away so he can lean over slightly further. This is a great ride, though, from Fergal McCann on his Katana. Ooh, and Kosterman's gone up the inside of Bill Simpson. As we come to the final stage of the lap now, will Simpson be able to drag him up the straight? Maybe not. Alan John Venter still in the tow. Alan Duffus, he's got Tony Jones and Donnie Cronje just behind him. Ooh, and Cronje just getting a little bit out of the saddle there as it slides. up at 240 k's per hour. That's Ian Simpson as they come onto the shelf. You see that Suzuki working ever so well. Bike number 2 should be number 1 because he won the first race of the South African TT for 2014. Runs a bit wide before he flicks it down the hill. Les from Badar, about a second off Simpson's lap time at the moment. He does say he gets a bit tired towards the end of the race. Can't blame him for that one. Simpson comes out of the final turn, looks over to his left, and there are the checkers for him. A double for the day for the Scot. A huge advantage in the second race, so every lap he's picking up the pace. We're waiting for Les van Berard to finish in second place. Meantime, at the shelf, there's a big dice going on between Etienne Lowe, Mike McSkimming, and Robbie Burns out from the UK with the XR69 Suzuki. Les van Berard then picks up the second place for the second time around, lapping some of the other riders in the field, lapping in the 1:09 bracket. Next time around, right here on our Brother News Desk, we'll bring you the rest of the Day of Champions.